quiet, so I'm just going to start. I'm going to call the meeting to order and recognize that tonight's meeting is being held on the traditional territory of the Sunaymo people. I would like to welcome this room full of people. There has not been this much energy in this room for a long time. I'm very excited for tonight. Thank you guys for coming, despite the possibility of snowpocalypse, as it's been called tonight. We'll keep our eyes on the windows, and if it starts coming down, then we'll let everybody go home safely. Is there any additions to the agenda for tonight? Seeing none. Any deletions? Oh, hello. Sorry.
I know it's your agenda, Trustee Higginson, but I'm wondering if I could make a comment somewhere in the agenda on the Supreme Court decision.
I don't think we can add that tonight. Perhaps it can be a late addition to the business.
Okay.
Okay, so no deletions?
Yeah, I think we can delete item 8.
Oh, that's a good idea. Thank you. Trustee Brzovic?
No, it was item 8.
Item 8, okay. Pardon?
I was just saying we could have this to do, but.
We could. Was it on tape? We could do it there. Okay, sorry. Any objections to approving the agenda with item 8 deleted?
Just one sec, just a point of order. The NDTA, shouldn't we take a vote
Yes.
on, so like your opinion was your opinion, but shouldn't the entire board vote if we can hear from the NDTA?
Well, if...
Because just as a point of order.
So the
that's
point of
it.
order is that if there's a trustee at the table who'd like to make an addition to the agenda, that is fine.
Yeah, it has to be.
And that's fine, but it cannot be added by one of our stakeholders.
Okay, well then I'll add it to the agenda.
Move it to you.
I'll move that it be added to the agenda then.
What is
So
it
we
that
can
you're
discuss
adding
it.
to the agenda?
What is it that you're adding?
Just that they want to make
An update.
an update,
As long as it's not more than 4 hours.
as long as it's brief. Yeah.
However, we're comfortable moving it to the business committee. I mean, the trustees will be here.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm comfortable with that, but thank you, Trustee Rae.
Okay, so let's
Okay, I'll withdraw it then.
okay. Okay, so any objection to approving the agenda with item 8 deleted and no other additions? No objections? Okay. Approval of the minutes. Any objection to the minutes as they stand? Seeing none, the minutes are approved. Okay, and start right into our presentations. We have a presentation from a number of staff members from Brechin to talk to us about all the amazing things that are going on there. We keep hearing that there's some great stuff happening, so I can't wait to hear about it.
If I could invite the members of the team who have parts of the presentation they want to share. I have to admit, when we were preparing for this evening, I realized that I may just be a smidgen out of practice, that this was a regular occurrence in my life a few years ago, but I sort of retired from that role in my career and am enjoying my new role in life with the team at Brechin. If I could be so bold as to just take 1 second before we begin our presentation and invite the team from Brechin to stand, because even though we have a few that are representing us that are actually going to be speaking, I'd like you to see the number that just came tonight to represent our school and the story that we're going to tell for our school. So if you are part of the team at Brechin, would you just stand for a moment? Because truly the power of what's happening at Brechin right now is very much about the team that's there and the individuals that are dedicating their lives for the students we serve. So this evening we're going to share, if you notice, actually a little out of character for me, I did not have a presentation full of facts and details and outlines to print off ahead of time. This evening we made a decision to simply bring you parts of our story with some pictures of actually what's happening at Brechin on a day-to-day basis. So we're just here to simply tell our story. For me, the part I hope that you're validated as members of our board and members of our senior management team as well, is that many of the things that we've talked about the last several years in this forum and within our district really have come to life at our school. And you'll have an opportunity to see more about how the decisions that you're making are actually impacting students on a daily basis. So when we think about the team at Brechin and the work that we do, we recognize that our work is guided by the strategic plan of our district with meeting each student's unique needs and the continuous improvements of instruction assessment. Those are key elements of what we do on a daily basis. And certainly the enhanced facilities for learning has actually impacted our school as well. And I hope at some point during the evening I can share just a few examples of how our facilities department has actually partnered with us to make some of our learning goals for our students actually occur and happen within our facilities element. When I had my first opportunity to interview with the members of senior management and a little bit about what the work is that I saw within the school, one of the things that I shared was that I think the three critical importance that makes a school really function at its very best is the culture, the structure, and the instruction. And we really focus as a team around those three elements. We can really make a school a very healthy, vibrant place for student learning. And so those are the areas that we focused on at Brechin in the last year and a half. I just would like to remind you when you're hearing about the amazing things from this team is that this team actually came to Brechin last year. Last year, Brechin began the year with a new principal, a new secretary, a new child and family support worker, a new counselor, and 6 out of 9 new teachers. At the end of the year, after we created some pretty amazing things, we actually had to lay off 8 of those 12 teachers because of some of the things that were happening within our district. The powerful thing is every one of those team members are back this year because they chose to be there because it's what the work that they do for students. So I really want to celebrate and thank them for that. I did tell them, I said, you know, when you took the job at the beginning of the year, I know I was a bit of a wild card, so now you're empowered to decide if you're coming back, and I knew I took a chance by saying that, so I was really, really thankful they all did make a decision to rejoin the team. I'd like to open the platform to Neil Varner. He's our grade 4-5 teacher that's been with us for both years, and he's actually just going to tell you the story of one of our students and the work that's happened at Brechin.
Thank you, Darlene. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, my interest in coming and sharing the work that we're doing at Brechin right now, I thought I'd come and try to personalize it by putting a face to it. And I'll introduce you to a student in my classroom. His name's Zach. Zach arrived to us from out of district last year about this time, and he arrived in the district significantly below grade level in most areas, I'd say, in terms of his social emotional skill set, his numeracy, his literacy, across the board. He's a lovely young man. He's wonderful to work with. He's got one of the kindest hearts I think you'll ever find. But he's had some circumstances in his life that have made expressing those things challenging for him. As a staff, Zach, I think, is the perfect example of how a team has come together to support and come around a student and really build this student up. We've had myself working as classroom teacher. We've had support throughout last year and this year with our student support teacher working in a level literacy intervention group, as well as working on Lexia to support his literacy outside of the classroom. He's had significant ongoing support with Trina Norgan, our counselor, with Bernadette French, our child youth family support worker, and with Michelle Gagnon again this year, supporting the family, supporting the home. Sorry, I get sort of excited when I talk about Zach and almost a little emotional. Zach, when Zach arrived in the classroom last year, I'd say functionally his literacy level was in about a kindergarten level for a grade 4 student. He's in grade 5. I assessed him today with an early grade 4 reading assessment, and he was able to do that fluently, which for me was a huge success. And it really speaks to the work that we've done as a team at the school. Zach isn't working at grade level yet, but I showed Darlene, I pulled his report card from last year, and we looked at it together, and I said, you know, he was C-minuses across the board, and I said, you know, Darlene, if I was going to be writing a report card for him today, I'd be able to give him a C. I'd be able to move him up from that not meeting expectations into that minimally meeting grade level expectations, and I followed that up with a conversation with Zach in the hallway, and I said, you know, this is where you were, this is where you're at, and I said, if we stay on this, I have no doubt that you're going to be meeting grade level expectations in the year as we continue to rally around them and push them forward. So that's to me, that's a perfect example of the supports that have been allocated to the school and the resources that we've been able to put into a student like Zach, and we're seeing that in a number of students across the school, and there's been lots of success, so thank you.
So Zach is one of our success stories, and I think Zach is also a great testimony to the work that we've done at the district level. You know, one of the things that we designed a few years ago and actually launched was focus schools. And of course, as you know, Brechin is one of those focus schools. Zach is one of the students whose life has changed because of the investment you made in focus schools and recognizing that some of our schools do face different challenges. A few years ago, I know with the support of Laura Tate, we made an investment in our schools in leveled literacy intervention. And that was probably about, what, a $7,000 investment in our school? I never did well with the not saying parts, and my staff knows, like, I'm really transparent. But so with that leveled literacy intervention, it is a tier 3 reading intervention. We have team members like Clay Aiken, Trina Norgan, who have invested in learning that intervention. We actually implement it and run different groups within our schools. It's truly a tier 3 reading intervention. So Zach and many other students have very targeted, significant support in rebuilding all areas of reading. Jessica DeWorrell, our reading specialist, who's with us part-time, was part of that. Emily Baker last year. So we identified the students who needed that most critical level of support, and they've got it. And I have so many stories where, and just like this picture shows, where teacher and student come to my office. The catchphrase is, they're there to knock my socks off. Because they're just really celebrating amazing student work, and we show that every Monday in our assembly. That's part of our structure and culture, that we celebrate student learning every Monday together as a school community. But when I have an opportunity to take a picture of a student with a teacher celebrating what they've accomplished, that's very powerful. But the investment you made as a district is what changed the trajectory of that young man's life. So thank you to you too. This is just another sample of student work from Mr. Dawes. I know he thought he would sneak back there and not be recognized, but that's not my style. A lot of the work that we're doing too is really emphasizing students being able to express. This gives you an example of some of the learning that's happening in the classroom. Mr. Dawes, was this a grade 5 or 6 student?
Grade 6.
Grade 6, and so he was doing a project where students were creating poems with meaning, and I'll give you just a second to read that one because I was pretty impacted by it. Our natural wrinkles are beauty, by the way, it says. And it says, you don't need high protein, low carbohydrate diets. Makeup is not confidence. And I think that that gives you a testimony of the messages, social, emotional, as well as academic, that our teachers are providing for our students. This is another sample of the teamwork that's happening at Brechin. One of the things that we do, I mentioned that every Monday we begin with a student assembly where we celebrate student learning, we preview our week together, we have a school cheer that is quite energetic, lots of passion come out with 200 kids screaming at you. But we end each week, many of our schools have PBIS structure where our students really learn positive expectations for behavior within the school. We end our week by celebrating our students who have demonstrated the respectful, responsible, safe elements within our school day. So generally myself and another team member spend the last 30, 45 minutes of our week with 18 students celebrating those choices they've made. And a couple of things that we always have once a month, Jolene Ackett, our Aboriginal EA, helps me host one of those. The last one I learned to play the Bones game, which I never played before. It was quite fun. We've also done some Aboriginal crafts. So we make that as an element of our celebrations. We also have an EA that comes alongside, and we do cooking with Beamer. We meant to bring him with us. That's our Bulldog mascot. And we've also, I am daring enough that once a year, I actually break out paint and glitter at the same time. And we decorate pumpkins. That stretches me out of my comfort zone. But we really focus on building relationships because we know that's a critical part of our students, what's going to meet their needs. So the way that we celebrate our PBIS structure, which is one of the structural pieces of our district, is to really bring it into our cultural piece of having the relationship with our students in those weekly celebrations. I don't know whether you guys want to add anything about our Beamer Blackout rewards. I will introduce Ms. Trina Norgan. She's our school's counselor. She thinks that she may be having a baby soon, but I'm not convinced. I'm going to let her go because she's been such a critical part of our team. But we recognize, despite PBIS, despite some of the amazing things that our teachers are doing with student engagement, we have a group of students who need Tier 3 behavioral supports, and Trina's been a critical part in helping design that, so I'll let her tell a little bit about that story.
Thank you, Darlene. Good evening. This is a picture of some of our grade 3, grade 4 students, and within Brechin we've got actually an immense need within the grade 3, 4 age or grade level. Normally in schools I do classified programs, sometimes small intensive pull-out support groups, and we soon recognize that a 30-minute pull-out group or a classified program is not adequately meeting the needs of these students. So with Darlene's full backing and the district support, we launched something in January 2016, which the students called Division 0. So every morning, myself and the Child and Youth Family Support Worker would take 8 students, the same students each day, and we would start our day together. And the day always looked the same, so it would be a quiet activity, then a breakfast/social skills group together, then a social emotional little lesson, then an academic support, followed by a story which focused on emotional literacy and a snack. And then those students were dismissed for short recess and then would continue to transition into their class. So this was it was by far my favorite part of my job, and I'm really, really passionate about it. It was very much a collaborative effort, and it still is, ongoing communication with the classroom teachers, to make sure that what we're teaching them for behavior support is also then transitioning to the classroom, and what they're doing in terms of the classroom for academics, we're then implementing within Division 0. So it was really collaborative on that level. Our Child and Youth Family Support Worker was she was always working with the families of those students, and then of course we're still in close contact with the outside agencies, Boys and Girls Club, Big Brothers, Tillicum, Child and Youth Family Support Worker, Child and Youth Mental Health. So we're really wrapping around, and January when we first implemented, I think we were kind of all thinking, what are we doing? This is a little bit crazy. And then I would say by April or May, we were really starting to see some large dividends. Students that were completely dysregulated started using their words and problem solving with one another. It's amazing to see. So that's a big structural change that we had implemented at Brechin that I think we're all celebrating. Another small change, but I think really has a large impact, is that we've also started having Tier 3 behavior support meetings every Tuesday afternoon. So again, with Darlene's backing and complete investment, we bring in a TTOC every Tuesday afternoon, and he or she then releases specific classroom teachers who have referred students forward that are perhaps a level of need above school-based team. So they're requiring immediate behavior support plans, immediate intervention on some level, and something really concrete. This time allows us not only to get the interventions implemented right away, but to also come back in a few weeks and to then assess how are these interventions and these strategies working, which I think, having been at lots of schools is a luxury. We have almost 20 students with severe behavior designations, and in most cases, the only time you are really wrapping around those students is during IEP time. So this time allows us to wrap around these students on an ongoing basis. And again, the teachers, I think, really appreciate that release time to come in, to form a plan that can be implemented the next day. So those are two, I think, really big structural pieces that we're seeing making a real difference within our school and with our kids. So we're pretty excited about that. Thank you.
And again, to connect what we're doing with Division 0 and our Tier 3 behavior teams, it does come back to what you're doing at the district level. Last year, there was a Department of Learning Services grant that came out, and we applied for it at Brechin and received it. And we use those funds to actually release teachers so we could, and at times EAs when we can. So everybody's sitting around the table. We as a school also, I think Mr. Aiken and myself, participated in some Tier 3 behavior training that Mr. Brzovic had organized for us. So we spent a few days the prior year just learning about how to design intervention, how to talk about what might be the cause of students' behaviors, and then to sort of wrap around that students and help them learn the proper behavior, but also to really give them the supports they needed at various levels. So what we can do by having that little bit of time each week is we get all the team together, we develop common language, and then for those students who are of greatest concern at staff meetings, we save time, and either Mr. Aiken or Miss Norgan will share with the whole staff, okay, if we're working with a student, we'll call him Dale, just out of some random name. I didn't want to pick on Mr. Blaine too early in the evening. That if we're concerned about Dale, like Trina or Clay will actually share with the whole staff, if you're seeing the student in this situation, this is the language we're all using. So our students have that very calm and consistent piece that's allowing them to be more successful. As a district, we've invested in PLC time, and as a school, we've made pretty dominant use of that time. Last year, we spent a lot of time just getting to know our students and recognizing what their needs were. In addition, we sort of felt like we had the behavioral piece, that plate turning pretty well, and we had the literacy piece turning pretty well. But the team of teachers would kind of pop in my office and they'd say, Darlene, we're really, really uncomfortable or nervous, worried about the numeracy, the mathematics skills of our students. So as a school, we collectively made a decision that we invested our PLC time last spring in mathematics and numeracy. So I'd like to invite Mr. Drown to share with you a little bit about our story with mathematics. Do you want this so you can click to your slides? I do share the power a lot.
All right, thank you. So last year we kind of took a look at our data and made that realization that our students are well below grade level, and a large percentage of them. From my grade 7 class this year alone, after running the DMA at the beginning of the year, we were able to see that 76% of my class was significantly below grade level for basic knowledge, the basic knowledge and skills pieces. When you folded in the computational abilities, it rose to 84% for below grade level. So we looked at that last year, and we used our PLC time to start off and to prioritize our learning outcomes. And as a staff to go through what by the end of grade 1 are we going to do what by the end of grade 2, and did that all the way up through to grade 7. And then looked, okay, now how can we approach these deficits that are there while trying to ensure that we're closing gaps and ensuring that students are reaching those expectations as they move from grade to grade. So we scoured around, and we've started using this resource here, Leaps and Bounds, which is one that takes a tiered approach to instruction. Every unit, every section has a different formative assessment at the beginning, which allows you to target gaps that are grade levels below your targeted instruction. So I think, here we go. So what I've been doing within my own class, and I know other teachers through our PLC time are starting to look at things, we'll actually run a pre-assessment and a post-assessment. Looks like a lot of numbers right here, but what this grid will do for this next unit that I have, is pull my current one. It'll take that pre-assessment, the stuff on the left-hand side, if you want to see what this is about, is basically breaks each section into the grade level equivalent. So if I'm in grade 7, just have a pointer on it.
Just head on over.
All right, so yeah, this part here would be like the grade 7 level. This would be, for that strand, the grade 6 level, like what they should know in that strand. There's a prerequisite skill, grade 5, grade 4. So it basically goes through, and you can see if this is a grade 7 class, this is the grade 4 ability set there. There's a lot of lack of knowledge and lots of gaps. So using that, you can respond to the instruction and really move it unit to unit. There's different gaps that different students will have, so you're going to target your instruction based on that. And we found so far that when I compare the growth unit to unit, we're getting larger moves forward, and the gaps are closing, which is really nice to see. And it's in its infancy in our school, because I really just started using it in September, but starting to see that response. And it's really through the PLC time, working with other colleagues in our intermediate and primary groups, comparing what each of us are doing, how are we tracking data, how are we building things in. I can see that when I end up putting the second set, the post-assessment for this, it'll actually show me the growth piece in the red column. That'll change, and it'll actually say, okay, this is how much they grew in each one of those data points. So it'll let me know, was that targeted instruction effective, was it not? And it'll give me that real instant feedback. Looking here, this is kind of what our scope and sequence would look at. For the grade 7 level, on the whole spreadsheet, there's also the learning outcomes for each of those number strands that go with it. And that's just a sample of what we did as a staff. And we're using also at our school to target the computational aspect. some computer-based resources, Reflex Math, across our whole school. And the growth we're seeing in that is immense. So Reflex just focuses on addition and subtraction basic facts, multiplication and division basic facts. For students who reach that 100% mastery, we're then extending them into mathletics so we can build that computer-based aspect into our routines, and it just rolls through our instruction. And through our PLC time, work with our colleagues and some new resources, we've been able to really target what we're doing effectively, and it's been part of a real teamwork approach.
I think too, I'd mention, because I think Ian didn't, but you'll notice we have flex time built into every one of the strands there. So if you look at the end of number concept, we're actually in 2 weeks of flex time before winter break, which is giving us time to reteach, reassess, and help kids who've missed those core skills, reteach them and relearn them and give them an opportunity to move forward with them before we move on with the rest of the class. So.
And it's also building in some of those intervention blocks as well. So in terms of doing some personal investigation projects, passion projects, those sorts of things, which will allow us to pull some students aside who maybe need that extra tier 3 level of intervention to be able to approach at the same time. So starting to weave that into that approach as well.
So what this team has done is actually taken the new curriculum, identified essential learning outcomes. We have charts now that show what we expect for each of our students to learn at every grade level from kindergarten to grade 7. Teachers are designing assessments that are targeting those skills. I know Kelly Clark's been investing a great deal of time of actually looking at the assessments we're designing and aligning it, making it look a lot like our NLPS reading assessment, so that it would be something that teachers, very teacher friendly, that you can use in a quick, efficient way to check on students' progress, and then we can actually design and target where those needs are. I'm not sure if there's anything you want to add to that, Kelly?
No.
She wasn't sure if she'd be able to join us or not, so I'm going to off the hook ever so slightly. So last year as a team, we also had the opportunity to participate in Joyful Literacy and go to Vancouver, and there's just a very small team of us, but it was with Jessica and Emily Baker and our kindergarten teachers. And we came back really passionate about student literacy and some of the targeted work that we want to do around our kindergarten grade 1 students. So Ms. Bress going to share with you a little bit about what we've accomplished in that area.
Hi. So I was able to go on this amazing journey through Joyful Literacy, which is an intervention and a literacy strategy that targets vulnerable learners, which is most of our students, I would say. The kids that come to kindergarten are really below where you would see other children in other schools. They don't know their letters. They might say that that's a number when really it's a letter. So we're really struggling to get them to know all their letters, and this program is really great. It actually has some kind of blitz that we have a major intervention. So we brought together all the adults that we could. We targeted, first we assessed them all to find out who was really low, and then we were able to put them in a room for an hour at a time, an hour for 4 times a week for 3 weeks, and the kids played letter recognition games. So they were excited to go. They brought their little stack of letters that they were trying to learn, and then they would move through different stations, and we had such great success that we're going to do it again this year. So it was just, we were just really grateful that we had the ability to go down to Abbotsford and have this mini summit of Joyful Literacy.
We teased Lisa and told her that she was our Joyful Literacy queen when we came back, because every meeting and what do we need to work on next, it was Joyful Literacy. When we were talking a little bit, we do have a lot to celebrate at Brechin. Like, we've done a lot of amazing things in a year and a half. A lot of the things that we're excited about. You've gotten a tiny, tiny glimpse of our life and the work and the things that we're passionate about. I think Mr. Robinson did criticize me once for not being quite passionate enough about my work, but I'm hoping that you can see the passion of the rest of the staff. One thing we would like to share with you, though, and I think Mr. Davey would probably attest to it by any number of text messages that I send him on any day. Brechin's a great place to be. We have an amazing team of professionals. Like, we have many EAs that have come and joined us because it's truly a collaborative team environment. It's a very challenging school to work in. There's a lot of elements that our students come with us. They're embraced and they're supported, but I think someone said we haven't fixed Brechin. It's just that we're working together to make a difference for kids. So last year, when we were really looking to define ourselves, because that was one of our goals last year, was like it was a new team, and we said it's our opportunity for us to define Brechin, for us to define the culture of the school. And this is really what's emerged as our guiding work. And it's simply that we go in there every day, we work hard, we have a lot of fun. These teachers and EAs are divided into 4 different teams, and they spend the year competing against each other in any number of tasks that I conjure up on any given day, which can be a little bit fun. I think they're going to be singing to me in the next few weeks. But our main thing is our focus is to make a difference for the kids that are in our school. So we thank you, because I hope that what you can see is the things that you have done at the senior management level, Department of Learning Services, and as a Board of Trustees is impacting student lives within the school of Brechin. So thank you.
Got some questions for you, so don't run off. Trustee Robinson?
Yes, off the top, the door decorating event is when?
The judging is December 16th. The decorating has launched as of December 1st.
Yeah.
With this team, I've learned to be very explicit. They were not allowed to start until December 1st.
This is good, keep them under control, because I had the joy of judging last year. This door decorating gets out of control, and I don't think there was a wall anywhere in the school that wasn't decorated, so I suggest that trustees go in. And you guys got tired of me talking about Brechin last year while it was my school, but now my Rotary Club has taken over as sort of an extended PAC. So I still have reason to go into the school and brag and celebrate. And was sitting in Darlene's office when a grade 4 girl and a grade 5 boy came in, and I had no idea what was going on. The little girl said, "We're here to knock your socks off." And as you heard, it's a regular thing. It's such a joy. Enough.
Trustee Solomon?
Thanks so much for coming, you guys. And yes, you've done some remarkable things in a very challenging environment. So I guess my question is, are you getting buy-in from the parents, from the community, with respect to some of what you're doing?
I'd actually like to invite either Trina or Neil, because we were just talking about one of the differences we've observed in the last year and a half.
Okay.
So there's, again, 2 pieces to it. So one, we've been really lucky to partner with some really excellent community agencies. So Tillicum's coming in and running a group once a week in our school. They've made a large investment. Big Brothers is doing Game On with Surreal or Matt Dene. He's running a boys club after school once a week. Big Brothers too, they have mentors coming into our school. We've got child and youth mental health clinicians coming in to see their students. So we're really partnering with our community partners in a way that's really wrapping around these students, and I think is making a huge difference. But I mentioned it to Darlene too, like at our recent staff meeting, that the way the families have opened up, even just though that I was there last year, that have opened up to all of us, supporting us, letting us know of their struggles, what's going on for them, is really, really remarkable, even from last year to this year. So that's really exciting, because then it allows us to partner with the homes on a completely different level, and then again, support the student. So.
Another quick example is my first PAC meeting. We had 2 PAC people present. We're currently running 10 to 15 parents attending PAC meetings, which is pretty significant. One of the first things we did too was actually introduce We Day to Brechin. They hadn't participated historically, and our PAC immediately said, let's do a root beer and bird night. And I say we probably have, 80% of families come out. They're there with us. We're going to do a couple pancake breakfasts this year, again with the help of the Rotary. So we have a great increase in a couple things. One of our goals was to increase school pride, for everyone, the students to be proud of the fact they go to Brechin, parents to be proud, and our staff to be proud to be team members there. And I think that's certainly one of the goals that we think we hence the t-shirts. And if you notice on the sleeves, they say Team Brechin.
That's great, thank you.
Trustee Rae?
I just want to say, and I'm going to get in trouble from the chair for not asking the question, but so be it. I just want to say thank you. I mean, we're very lucky in this district to see this kind of example. You're just one example, a shining example of what is happening throughout our whole district, and thank you for being the first group of people to come here and show us what you do. It's just another example of how lucky and blessed we are in this district to have people like all of you to work here on a common goal to help our kids. So thank you. Question.
Thanks for that fantastic question. Yeah, I saw Darlene. So Trustee Brzovic.
Thank you. First of all, excellent presentation, amazing school. I've been in there too, and I've seen what you've done over the last year and a half, and it's just wonderful. With the Division 0, just remind me, is it a certain grade group, or is it?
Yeah, so last year when we wrapped up, like, of course, the goal is always to give the students the skills where they can transition back and be fully functional in, a regular classroom, for lack of a better word. And then this year we thought we're going to hold off on the start of Division 0 and then really assess again where the needs are, where are we not meeting the needs, and how can we best support the students. So again, it's sort of fallen back into this grade 3-4 level. It's not that this is the grade that it will always be, but that was the need and continues to be the need in our school.
Charlene?
Thank you. Through the chair, I will start with a comment. It's refreshing for me as a parent to see your group use data and not to be scared to use data in conjunction with formative assessment for teaching practice. I think often people feel like those two things need to be exclusive, and I think you've shown us tonight that they don't have to be, and that is a really great thing. So thank you for that. My question is, perhaps, Darlene, could you share with the board one of the successes that I've heard about around your hold and secure differences over the past couple of years?
I think that those happened on occasion at Brechin before this team was there. Last year, the only hold and secure we had was the one issued by the district. So we had 0 additional. We had a significant decrease in violent incidences that was probably a 70 to 80% reduction last year. And again, it's just the quality of this team. And if you could see them on any daily basis, the way they support students learning in the moments and students who have challenging behaviors in the moment. I did mention earlier that their actually facilities has come alongside us as well. One of the things we recognized when we moved into the school was there wasn't really a place for students to step aside, step away from the learning environment and just get themselves calm and regroup them back in the classrooms. We saw a space where we thought it could happen. Ms. Lindquist uses the space quite often with one of her students. I know Mr. Esslinger listened to our vision and helped us vision to make sure it was supportive again of what our district goals were. But we do have a room now that really gives us that has different sensory elements in it, as well as our Division 0, the Learning Hub. We are growing with number of students, and we're trying to find spaces for everybody and good learning environments. So they brought in the shelving and just simple things like that. In all honesty, they brought us the shelving we needed for that room to really design our learning materials and resources. And what amazed me, and I kept offering to make them coffee once in a while, because they were in there constructing things while we're having instruction, and it was seamless. And the way they interacted with the students and kept things safe and calm during the whole time was remarkable. So it's also a testament to our facilities department and how they supported our vision as well. So.
Trustee Kimler?
Thank you very much for your presentation. I know that your school is one of a number of focus schools that we have within the district, and I'm sure that if they were all to present that they would have similar stories to share, albeit each would be different because the culture at each school is different. But I have great interest in this because you guys are basically forging a path forward, and it's exciting to see what you're able to achieve with the focus. And so I guess my question is, and it's a rhetorical question to you, but it's not to staff, and that is, how can we as a board in the school district expand this program so that every school becomes a focus school? And I think that ultimately would be the desire of the district and the board. And of course, there's a certain amount of cost associated with it. So that would have to be looked at. But certainly the steps that you're taking and some of the initiatives you have and which ones are a success and which ones perhaps aren't as successful is just as important as the financial piece. So thank you.
And you are, if I could, to the chair, you are correct in the fact that when you're looking at focus schools, there is a group of our schools that just have significantly different needs. You probably don't have many schools that have 20 students with H designations, and I tend to say those are capital H's, not baby H's. Means they're really significant behavior issues. So our school needs certain elements. Another school may have students with different types of needs, and they're going to need different supports. So like I was talking to actually an NDT executive this past week, and he was asking me a bit about what we do. And the Tier 3 behavior meetings, for us to come to the staff and get consistent language is critical for this school. It may not be critical for one of your other schools, but they may need something different.
Sure. Thank you.
Any other questions from the trustees? No? You're going to steal my thunder, so I'm going to go first. You do it all the time, you steal my thunder.
Okay.
So,
I know my question.
it's too late. I just really, as the chair of the Ed Committee, really want to thank you guys for coming in. I know it's a busy time of year. It's always busy. This year is extra busy. There's no non-busy time, but everybody's getting ready for concerts, and the kids are a bit, woo, at least mine are. So I made so many notes about all the elements that we try to instill across the district that you guys just showed in your practice, and I think I really appreciated how you tied it back to our senior leadership team and the decisions that the board makes. But at the end of the day, sometimes the decisions feel really far away, and you guys make the difference, and you guys are doing it. And I was so impressed with every single slide you showed and the passion. It's just this. We're really fortunate to have you leading the decisions that we try to make here and actually putting them into practice. So thank you so much for the time and for what you do every single day. And probably eat, sleep, and breathe it, because your passion comes through. So we're very fortunate. Thank you for the time. And now I'm going to pass it over to Superintendent Blaine. Before you try to go.
You keep hearing thank you, but good work, guys. And I'd love to coin the work hard, have fun. Because if we can teach our young people to work hard and have fun, everyone will make a difference. And that's what it's all about. And you guys are setting that model. So. It's a sign of things to come, and it is also incentive for us to continue to try to set our goals around some things that we are beginning to learn that work. And focus schools, I believe, is becoming one of our guiding lights around that. And so, as Trustee Kilmer asked us, we'd like everyone to have it. Well, if that's a goal for us, and we set it and work hard and have fun, we will get there. And if that's the direction we want to go, and we're looking forward to the information and data as this year completes, because I believe this will be the third year at the end. And we put a goal down that we were going to commit ourselves to 3 years to look at whether or not we could actually make a difference, and you guys are proving us right. So thank you.
Some of you don't need to stay if you don't want to, but you're welcome to, because there's going to be more of your colleagues presenting awesome stuff that's happening. But you're welcome to take a couple minutes to scooch out if you want to go. Make room for some more. If we need to bring some more chairs in, we have them in the. Yes. Oh yeah, we've got a couple of chairs. Okay, I'm going to go.
Might as well.
Thank you.
I can't speak now. Mr. Daly's been in a lot. She's been over the past year. It's beautiful. Like I said, giving it time and it's really intense. Every day, like, but just like, and you know, we're not the excitement show that you put the intensity and we're really fortunate
All right. Are we ready to pull this back together?
Somebody want to adjust Mr. Gaines' Yeah, where's Mr.?
You have to go catch me.
That's a.
That's all.
We have liftoff.
Are you ready?
What are you presenting?
Let Laura start.
You're doing
so
Yeah,
deal.
Yeah, just go for it, Laura.
Good evening. I'm assigned to give you a reporting update, and I have given those to you in the past, and they've been significantly technical and logistical, and there's still a lot of that going on. So we're moving ahead in more of a technological aspect for sure around the report cards, the electronic report cards. Those are humming along. But what I thought we could do tonight is switch it up a little bit and move this reporting update right into our classrooms. And so we have a handful of schools with us this evening, teachers that are just going to let you know what this new curriculum assessment and reporting looks like in their classrooms. And as I just spoke with my good colleague Michelle, we are all on a learning journey, all of us, around all of this. So I'd like to start by inviting up McGurr Elementary to give us a snapshot into their assessment and reporting world.
Okay.
I'm the moral support. I just have to tell a bit of a story. Michelle Kraft does, every time I walk by her classroom, I just peek in and go, oh my, I'm not even close to what's happening in there. It's outstanding work, and she's this kind of person that you say, oh, that's amazing. Shut up. It is not. No, I'm not good. She hates this. So I texted her last week. Yeah. And this is costing me a very expensive bottle of wine.
A box, actually.
A box of wine. To get her to come and present, because a lot of times I think it happens with a lot of our teachers. It's hard to come out and actually show what you do and do that piece. So she's being very courageous and somewhat nauseous, but we'll see how she does. She does absolutely amazing work. And what we wanted to, what I asked her to show was how she's engaging families now in a new way of reporting and communicating on student learning. New to Fresh Grade, new to these different platforms, and she's experimenting and playing and I think doing a fabulous job. So she's going to walk you a little bit through that.
Thanks, Justin. Yes, so this is very new for me. And I'm just in the beginning stages and kind of dabbling in different ways to communicate with parents. Up until recently, I've been sort of sending home paper copies of samples of student work and my feedback attached to that and the student voice. And I've been kind of trying to dabble in a way that makes a bit more sense for me, and that's a little bit more organized and better for parents, more efficient, more effective, authentic way to communicate with parents. So I've been trying Fresh Grade. It's been like really recent that I've been dabbling in it, but this is just kind of a sample of one of the students in my class that I have permission to share. So I'll scroll down a little bit, and here's a sample of her art, and if the parents click on this, they've got the art attached with, this was from Remembrance Day, with a sample of her artwork and some writing that she did at assembly. With attached is my feedback, so the sample, the learning standards, descriptive feedback, a goal, and where she's at. And then we scroll down and we have Salsa in our class, a dog that reads with the kids every week. So we've got a picture of that, and then a little Friday journal reflection that she's written to her dad about Salsa's visit. And then a little self-assessment of her writing, how she's doing, and her writing goal. Oops, that didn't really go in order. Another picture, and then my feedback attached so that parents can just click on this and see really quickly their child's learning. Some patterns that she's done in math. Here's a little video clip of her oral or her reading fluency. This was kind of a new post for me that I've been dabbling in as well, which is called Explain Everything. So it's a little app I'll show you. I don't know if do I have sound? Do I have sound? So if the parents click on this, it's got a little sample of her mental math.
So I know that 2 plus 8 equals 10. And I know that from the 12, we left 10 away. We also left 10 from the 18, and that is another 10. Then I have the 6 and the 6, and that equals 12. And I know that 12 is 10 plus 2.
Good. You know your doubles and your power of 10.
And then we left behind another 10. And so 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and then 52 equals 52.
That was awesome. So
Parents cried when they saw that.
yeah, I mean, up until now, I've been emailing the video clips from Explain Everything, but this is way more efficient way to put it onto. So then it's got my communication of her student learning, her self-check of how she feels she's doing, a little more samples. So there's another example of Explain Everything, which is oral retelling of the Paper Bag Princess, so the parents can just click on it. It's got her explaining the story
Once upon a time, there was
so that they can quickly see. I won't go through the whole thing because I know other people want to share, but
we want to listen, that's the problem.
she's really cute. They're all great, but
and the princess loved the prince very well. But then, before they could marry,
it's quite long. I should go on. Okay.
right?
So, and attached again is my, and I actually think that I'll probably figure out a way to put the assessment, embed it right into Fresh Grade, but for now I'm just taking pictures of it just because I'm learning and I'm not a techie at all. This is just a little reflection of her oral retelling. Another picture of her doing a science experiment. They can click on it. She's got the science experiment and then her reflection of what she did in a Friday journal with a little letter about it. Here's another cool one. This is a water cycle poster that she created using different materials, and then it's her explaining the water cycle process with her 2 stars and a wish about her poster and my assessment on that. So anyways, parents have been really receptive. They love it. They love seeing the work come home. I just think it's a way more meaningful way to communicate with parents. I've had no complaints about no report card, and they've been loving it. So, yeah.
And so this is what we were envisioning. In moving away from a report card with a static 1, 2, 3, 4, and A, B, C plus C, to something that is real and authentic and amazing communication of learning. And I think she's kind of taking it like, I'm scared now when
I stressed out about it a lot at the beginning. I won't deny that, but I think that I now have realized that it's not anything new that I'm not already doing. I'm just finding ways to get it home to parents and include them in that triangle. That it's just what I'm doing and sending it home, and they're loving that, I think.
Awesome. I've got 3 questions so far, and I'm sure
This
there'll
is
be
her
more.
big fear. This is her big fear.
Where's my wallet?
Okay. Start with Steve.
I have a 63-point question.
Oh,
Wow, I mean, that's outstanding. Thank you so much, and thank you for being creative and thinking out of the box and forward thinking. And yeah, I mean, that's so exciting. I wish you taught my kids when they were that age, you know.
Aw, thanks.
My question is, again, you mentioned it briefly, but the buy-in of the parents, you know, it is so important. We've got so many great stories to tell, but communicating them is the biggest challenge. And this is a fantastic way to do it. So what is the buy-in of the parents to?
Well, I think that, up until now, I haven't really invited them into this fresh grade because it's very new to me, so I'm just getting it all loaded up. But the samples that I've sent home via email, because I've sent all these clips home via email, has been outstanding. They're emailing back, they're engaged, they ask questions, they're really excited about their kids learning. I think that they come in all the time and talk to me about it, that they're thrilled to see stuff come home. For the most part. There's still some that you don't get a response from, but that's always going to be, I think. Yeah.
Thank you. Well done.
Thanks.
So there's a long list here. I'm going to remind trustees that there's more teachers going to present tonight as well, so you don't have to ask all your questions of the first presenter. But or you can keep asking questions and we'll be here until the snowpocalypse hits, which is also awesome. Okay.
These presentations go up.
There's
I'm
a
here
lot
to
of passion, and I have, there's a lot of wheels turning. So, Trustee Kimler.
So as a parent of a child in the district, to see this is awesome. And I've noticed from my own daughter, the more interaction I've had with teachers, with her learning, the better she does, and the more interested in school, and the more I'm aware of what's going on at school. And certainly this is wonderful. I'm wondering, typically, when my daughter leaves and goes to school and comes home, it's a black hole. It's kind of a void, and the only way that I can get feedback is to sort of crowbar it out of her, and sometimes that's easier to do than others, right?
Yeah.
So certainly, and from a year after year development point of view, what a wonderful record, right? My question, I guess, would be with regards to any homework you assign. Do you utilize similar sorts of communication to help with planning? So, because this is one of my big issues, is my daughter's not very good at following through with some of the work that's required at home, and a lot of times I don't even know that it's required. So I'm just wondering if you utilize much homework and if you proactively use a method like this to communicate.
Well, I communicate with newsletters home, monthly newsletters to the parents, and let them know what's happening in the classroom, what we're learning, what we're working on. As far as homework in grade 2 and 3, I don't typically give a lot of homework. They have some spelling words to work on and some home reading that I just want them to enjoy time with their family and extracurricular, and I don't assign too much homework in grade 2. So, but I could see you using this, absolutely, yeah. And I would probably put, I think you can put newsletters and things like that right into fresh grade if I could figure out how to do that. People probably already know, and I don't. And your spelling words and just pictures of things that are happening in the day. If I see a child doing something really cool, take a picture of it and fire it right off right then, and then it notifies parents that there's a picture that they've got in their thing. Yeah.
That's awesome. Charlene.
Thank you. Through the chair, part of my question was answered already, so hopefully that makes you feel better.
One last question.
The second half of my question would be, in what you're playing with fresh grade, is there a communication tool between yourself and the parent? So if you send that communication link, can the parent then use the tool to
Yes,
respond
I
back to you?
believe they can. They can
Yes.
comment on any post that's in there. And probably I would even ask, like, as parent homework, could you please comment on your child's post and let me know? Up until now, I've been getting emails back letting me know that they've received posts and samples, but I think this would be a way more efficient way of, yeah.
Trustee Robinson?
How many students do you have, and how long does it take you to do what you just showed us?
Yeah, that's the video part is quite time consuming, but I have 22 students, and I do daily 5 in my class throughout the week, which is a structure where the kids move independently through reading to self, read to someone, working on their writing, word work, and then conferencing with me. So it allows me about an hour and a half to conference with kids. So I usually can get through about 8 kids in 3 times a week. So I usually make sure I pull, plus sometimes I use my preps when the kids are in library to pull them out and have them video. So just so that I can get sort of authentic student voice.
Blows me away that that's grade 2, 3, the writing I saw. And the math, what?
Yeah,
I didn't quite get it. Why all that? Does it lead
That's a lesson
into
for,
algebra?
we can teach you that.
Yeah, that's
No, I don't think I'll ever get it.
Trustee Brzovic?
Thank you. Well, a couple of my questions have been answered, but one thing I was wondering, remembering myself back at that age, do you have any kids who are reluctant to let you with the videotaping? Do they get nervous or?
Not at all. They love it.
Okay.
They love hearing, I play it back for them, and they actually get really excited about that. And I also have showed them the Fresh Grade platform, and I show them their profile, and I show them what I'm putting in and what I'm going to send home to the parents so that they can see, and they're really excited about it. And yeah, they love it.
Cool.
Yeah,
I think
they
it's the
love
world of the digital native.
Yeah.
Or hearing their fluency, like I'll get them to read and then I play it back and we'll talk about it. And eventually, I mean, I will probably put a lot of my feedback just with conferencing with them and just sharing on the video so parents can actually see me talking to, or hear me talking to their child and commenting.
And
on
do
how they're
you
doing.
choose like what stuff will they ever come to you and say, I want to put this one in, or?
Hopefully that's where I'll get to that
what-
point.
yeah.
That's the hope. I think that's more the case in intermediate where they're actually uploading their own work and choosing what they want to put in there. But for me, I'm just really in the beginning stages and learning it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you so much.
That wasn't so bad, was it?
Oh.
Which point?
I thought she was gonna call.
Yes, don't.
Just so you know that there's 3 more schools like
Excellent.
this one, and then there's another set of presentations like after that. Just to let you know, just in case you're wondering. I will invite Fairview Elementary up next because one of the team members needs to catch a ferry, and then if Dale, if you don't mind getting Dover Bay's presentation ready, they'll go right after Fairview. Okay. Welcome.
Well, this isn't about me, so I'm not even going to come to this
Oh, come on
front.
up. Just come on.
But it's such a, like Michelle, what we're doing is such a beautiful segue into, our teachers decided they were just going to reflect on what the redesigned curriculum meant to them and to our students at Fairview. But what beautiful examples you brought of that. So, thank you.
And if you ever want to meet and talk about fresh grade, I would love to. Because I'm doing it too, but some of the stuff that you have. My name's Holly Shelton. I teach grade 1 at Fairview. And I'm here tonight to talk about the positive transformation of our assessment model in relation to students and families. It was neat coming to Fairview. I was leaving a school I had been at for a few years with a lovely parent population that I was quite sad to be leaving, that Stephanie was a part of, but it was neat. I was not knowing what to expect at Fairview, and you talk about the family and parent culture, and I think with this new assessment model it is inviting them in a lot more, and they do feel more comfortable. I'm excited because we're starting to bridge the gap between home and school communication and the time between these big summative report cards with teacher jargon and numbers that go home 3 times a year, 2 times now. For our school population, many of our parents didn't really necessarily have a very positive school experience in their time, and some of them feel nervous or apprehensive and even defensive sometimes to come in and engage with the school community about their child's education. I think with the way we are starting to include parents in their child's learning progression and emphasizing what their kids can do and what they have learned rather than what they can't do and where they still need to go, before the report cards go out, invites parents to be a part of the learning community in a positive, celebrated way, and it's ongoing all year, so they can see where they were in September to where they are going in June, and when they get there, how far they've come. We know that parent involvement increases student success, so it's just a really neat path that we're starting to take. Parents aren't just an observer anymore in their child's education, they're really being part of it. I don't like talking about people. Used to 6-year-olds. So now we're emphasizing the learning journey that we've embarked on in the class, instead of just what they have learned or what they have been learning. It's the whole process and what they do the whole time. And the most important part of this is the specific targeted feedback that we're giving kids to move them forward and communicating this feedback with parents. And part of that is also empowering students with a voice, what they think they're doing well, what needs a little bit more work, what they would like to focus on in the future. And by doing these things, we're putting kids in the center of their learning now and stepping back to become just facilitators of this process rather than teaching them all the facts and being the center of their learning. So this year I'm using Fresh Grade as well. And it is really neat to see how inspired the kids are. And they do ask all the time, can I put this on Fresh Grade? Can I put this on Fresh Grade? And we have criteria of, if we're talking about writing, what makes good writing, and we look at their criteria and we look at their work, and if it meets the criteria and what they have been able to produce, then yes, we can put it on Fresh Grade. But there are times where I say, no, we can't, because you aren't producing what you are able to produce. So it kind of gives them encouragement to produce their best work all the time, because they do want it to go home on there and talk about it with their families. Parents are excited when I post things. They do comment on it. They can comment right. You can see there's a little eye and a speech bubble, so you can see if they've seen it and you can see if they've commented on it. And I have a lot of parents that comment on or write in planners that they had seen it the night before, and kids come in and say, I was so excited, we looked at that last night, and they're really proud of their work. So next week I'm trying something new I haven't done before. We've been learning about community in our class, and we're going to be building communities with little boxes and construction paper, and inviting parents in to have the kids be the tour guides of our learning and have the kids show their parents what they've done and take ownership of what they've been working on. And I was a little curious to see how many parents will be attending this, and my other grade 1 teacher partner is doing hers tomorrow, and she has all but 3 parents attending in an inner city school to come in the afternoon and see their kids work. So you can tell that it is definitely increasing parent involvement. So in my opinion, it's just best practice. It's setting kids up for success. It allows them to get to know themselves as a learner, something that I didn't learn until I was in university at the Ed program with Paige Fisher, who all we talked about was this, and celebrations of learning and creating criteria and rubrics. And it builds on the relationships between students and teachers and parents and students and parents, and that whole triangle. And it's not only moving my students' learning forward, it's moving my learning forward as a teacher too. And it's neat to be at the beginning of my career to have this to go from. Thank you.
All right, well, good evening everybody, and thank you for allowing me to be here tonight. My name is Sue Gardner. I currently teach grade 3 at Fairview Community School, and as you will no doubt know by the end of my little chat, I am super excited about the changes that are happening in education in BC. This is the third continent, by the way, that I have taught on, and I've had experiences in Europe and in Africa, and I really am. I can't tell. Anyway, you'll see. So, research shows that students in poverty, that's where I teach, require more than the traditional curriculums and teaching methods to enable engagement in classrooms. So engagement is that part when the kids are looking at you, when can we get on with it, what can we do next, what are we going to do, how are we going to do it? So by offering different methods of showing what you know, the redesigned curriculum offers opportunities to make, present, design, construct, collaborate, and use technology. It also allows room for inquiry into things that appeal to individual students. Choice is an important strategy for promoting engagement. Engagement is increased if students are involved in setting criteria for their assignments and projects. The redesigned curriculum requires that the students set criteria, and therefore the buy-in is greater. One issue at Fairview, as identified collaboratively by our staff, was that our students appeared to take very little ownership of their learning. The redesigned curriculum requires that they set these criteria and also, upon completion of the project, reflect on their learning. This, of course, looks different in every grade and classroom, but what is the same is that as a staff, we are working on ways to allow the students to think about things that have gone well and should be celebrated, what could be improved, redone, or even what they want to learn next. These new requirements actually empower the children and help them to develop their own personal roadmap to their futures. Goal setting has always been part of the personal planning and health and career education curriculum, but there was a tendency to teach these skills in isolation. Now these skills are built into everything that we do. We're continuously practicing reflection and goal setting. And with all this practice, I'm very optimistic that the students will become more active learners and powerful advocates for themselves and their learning needs, as you referenced. At Fairview, we've also initiated a school-wide approach to teaching a growth mindset as opposed to a fixed mindset. It's very powerful to talk to children about their work and have them say to you, I haven't got it yet, or I can't do it yet. That's a huge shift in the way that we're thinking. And what I love about the redesigned curriculum is now we're required to talk about that with our students. It's not just me going in the staff meeting, oh, I want to tell you about this book I read, and blah, blah, blah. We're all required to do that. So a growth mindset is a built-in requirement for success with the redesigned curriculum. If personalization is to be successful on a grand scale, then the students need to understand that they can and will improve and make progress. And they can do this by owning their learning, reflecting on their success, and identifying areas for further growth. I tell the students that I'm assessing and reporting on their growth, which is measured against all the core competencies and not on whether they can repeat verbatim something I've taught in class, which is the traditional way of doing, or has been. This change in assessment comes with a corresponding change in reporting. Parents I've talked to are happy with the changes and excited to spend more time in class with their children. Having their caregivers more involved in the programs will definitely increase buy-in and ownership. There is to be a celebration of learning in my own classroom tomorrow, unless there's snow apocalypse. But I look forward to reflecting on how it all went and how I can make this experience even better for my students and their families. One of the most exciting things about the redesigned curriculum is that it's new. Nobody on staff has yet reached expert status. We're all on a journey to discover it together. There is teacher and EA collaboration on a scale that I have not seen in my 11 years with this district. Teams of adults meet during PLC. The teams can be fluid depending on what we need to learn or collaborate on. We are required to look at our practice and what we want to achieve through a different lens. The prep periods at our school have been arranged so that at least once during the week, teachers of the same grade group have another opportunity to collaborate. So it's the teachers have bought in to this as well on a big scale. And so the two heads better than one definitely applies here. And so back to the research on teaching children in poverty, which says that the most powerful and lasting effect of any initiative is achieved through a school-wide approach. How much better to have a district and a province-wide one? I'm very proud to be part of the team at Fairview and very grateful to be working under the loving and encouraging leadership of Jane Crooks. So thank you, Jane. And thank you for listening. Is it hot seat time now?
It is hot seat time. I'm just going to use my position of privilege here to give Holly some kudos, because my son, look, I'm going to get all emotional. So my oldest is in grade 4, and Holly was part of a dynamic teaching team that had him in grade 1. And I can trace his passions and his love of learning back to your classroom. And he's a great student, and he loves learning, and so much of it was because of what you did. So it's funny to hear you say the beginning of your career, because he's my oldest, and he's, years past your classroom, and I think of you as like this veteran teacher who taught him so well, and so you've made a big difference to him and to our family. So.
He was fun to teach. He's a curious little guy.
He's a nightmare now.
All right, Trustee Rae.
Sorry, it's a tough one to follow. Thank you so much for your passion, both of you. We're, again, repeating saying this, we're so lucky in this district to have teachers like you and everybody who's here. Thank you. My question is, what is clearly people here are filled with passion towards the new curriculum. What is the buy-in from the other teachers that are here? Are people acceptant?
Yes.
Of it?
Because of the PLC time, actually, and we're using that to collaborate. I think I've come from other countries where that is the norm, and when I came here, I felt a little isolated, and curriculum hadn't changed, nothing had changed for a long time. And initiatives were started and then changed and stopped and something else. This is something different. This is actually, that's why I said we're all on the same. When you're new and you're going, well, I think it could be like this. And in my last school we used to, and then when I worked in South Africa, it's irritating to people. Honestly, I'm absolutely aware of that, and I tried not to do that. But I see this huge change in the way that our staff works together, and a lot of that has to do with our principal, because she is fabulous at validating everybody, validating their fears. There is a lot of fear around something like this. Absolutely. So she's put us in groups where we can support one another and work together, plan together, to the last detail for those people that are scared to take the steps on their own. So yeah, I think we're getting...
this is really timely, if you don't mind me interrupting you.
Not at all.
So we have one teacher on staff who, when I first came, was very, it was rooted in fear. She did not want to change, and she was making very sure that I knew that. And as we've moved along and developed collaborative teams, as we've had the redesign, it's a common denominator for everybody, which brings everybody to where everyone knows that they have a gift and they have an area to learn. But at 5:30, we text sometimes, and 5:30 this morning she says, I wanted to send you this, Jane. Quote of the day. She said, this is, don't cling to a mistake just because you spent a lot of time making it.
Wow.
And then she said, this was on a friend's wall today. It sure sums up our new curriculum. And then I answered her, and then she said something nice to me. And I was able to say, though, Sandy, you've opened up like this blooming flower, like the willingness that you have. And she says credit goes to Sue, too, for guiding me. So that is just a beautiful example of the power of putting students at the forefront, collaboration and teamwork and working together. I don't think our doors have ever been more open. And we're not, we've got loads to learn still, but we're learning it together. And now we can say to each other, oh my goodness, that lesson bombed, and we can say, awesome, tell us about it. What would you do differently? How can I give you a suggestion? So we're not afraid to be learning in our workplaces. And it used to be that we all, I hope nobody finds out that I'm not really sure how to do this. We can lay it out, and that's how the growth mindset is developing.
So it's amongst the teachers and amongst the students.
It's
we're,
everybody.
we're all, I think that was helpful too, introducing that to the teachers, this book on the brain and how it works. Because I used, by explaining how the brain works to some of my behavior students, you kind of take the let them know that, you know what, it's not all you, it's your brain. It's hijacked, your PFC is being hijacked. You can do something about that. And I saw behavior changes by using that, by teaching the kids. And once we required all the staff to teach it, they learned it themselves, and then you open yourself up to, yeah, I could try.
Well, if I can just follow up, change is difficult for everyone. And often the hardest step to take is the first one, and it is clear, very crystal clear, that everybody in this room, in this district, is willing to take the first step together. And the only people who are going to win out of that is our kids. So
absolutely.
Thank you very much. Well done. Thank you.
And can I just, sorry.
No, that's okay, go ahead.
Jessica's so talented, and Jessica we share with Brechin, but Jessica has been a huge part of the explosion of growth in our school too, because she's so safe to learn with. So she's a literacy teacher in our school half-time, and it really matters, the kind of personality and what you bring into a classroom, and when it's safe, people will learn, and that's what you've done. So
thank you. Well done.
Thank you.
Well, you're not done yet.
We have another question?
Get back.
Yes, sir.
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
What percentage of your parents have computers?
Well, that's the thing nowadays. Everybody has a smartphone. So all that you need is a smartphone or an iPad. You don't even need a computer. And
Bill still has one of those big gray ones.
Yeah,
the brick.
I only have.
Mine's a two-hander.
Out of 20, I have 20 kids in my class, and I think I have 5 that haven't confirmed. So you send an email, you get their email address, and you send them a confirmation, and you can tell if they've accepted the profile in fresh grade. And I think I have 5 that haven't yet. So out of 20.
And Sue, turning a comment into a question, I'm wondering if you feel that you could become an even better teacher if you could generate a little energy and enthusiasm.
That's just me.
Really well done. And I want to take this time, I keep hearing about the importance of PLCs. I want to pat the back of the previous board because PLCs were on the verge of disappearing, remember, Jamie? And that previous board pushed to get at least 2 PLCs a month, which caused a lot of parents to be annoyed with us because they never knew which was a short day or not. But we got PLCs embedded, and teachers are taking advantage of it, and joy is happening in the classroom.
And change.
Yes.
Big change. Exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are we free?
Yep. Okay.
Read loud.
Thank
We have a secondary school up next, over Bay.
I have handouts.
Michelle takes over this. Actually does very, very well.
And I will make an introduction now. Michelle James will be one of the 9 grade 8 teachers who, with the extraordinary team who's moving us along at a secondary level. And we're very proud. It's been going on for about 5 years. Michelle James was a grade 9 teacher last year. And she decided to move to our grade 8 model because she knew she was investing in collaboration and a group dynamic that was going to move secondary schools forward. And Michelle, carry it forward.
All right, so I'm going to talk to you a bit about how I deal with assessment and reporting, and I do teach at Dover Bay Secondary. I am a STEM 8 teacher, science, technology, engineering, and math, so we have combined our science and math, and we have 3 STEM teachers that teach science and math for all the grade 8s in our building. So my shift in assessment came from a realization that things needed to change. So I would talk to parents, but I felt unconfident being certain what my students knew and what they didn't. And so reporting percentages and letter grades doesn't properly convey student learning. So my kid knows 72% of what they're supposed to know. Is that how it works? And they're a B? That kind of thing is sort of, it's how we went to school, so we kind of understand it, but it doesn't really convey the whole story of what's going on. The grades often become the end goal instead of the learning, so I can't tell you how many times I've had to talk about a 72 versus 73, an 85 versus 86, a 48 versus 50, and students were more concerned with what did I get instead of what did I learn. And so I had to have lots of conversations with parents and students about let's not talk about the mark, let's talk about what you learned instead. And it was all sort of about the grade. Grades in high school can be high stakes. They want to go on to post-secondary, and so often the end result was really important, and they would forget about what they learned, and they wouldn't put a lot of value in that. So in attempting to change, we started by taking our tests, and we identified what learning outcomes we were evaluating on those tests, and we would organize our tests and our assessments into the learning outcomes that we actually were evaluating them on. And I know that sounds simple, but we didn't do it. It would be sort of a chapter 4 test, and we'd have our questions, and then they would get an assessment on chapter 4 instead of us stating, this is actually what we're assessing you on, this specific learning outcome. So our first attempts, we started assessing their progress on a learning outcome, on each learning outcome on a 1 to 4 scale, 4 being the best and 1 being the least amount of learning showed. This was a problem because students, parents, and even teachers, we thought of a 4 out of 4 meaning 100. We thought 2 out of 4 meant 50%. And when we reported on progress and learning, we kind of still hung on to that because it's what we knew. And we still were reporting on specific skills. So our report cards look something like your mark in fractions, your mark on integers, instead of talking about what kind of learner you were as a math learner. So we were still sort of stuck on that. So in terms of evolving, we wanted to follow the humanities example of talking about what kind of writer and reader they were. We wanted to start talking about what kind of math or science learner they were versus what did they know about fractions? What did they know about algebra? That kind of idea. So we wanted to be able to report on their ability as a learner rather than their knowledge of a specific topic. And that's kind of tough. We as math teachers especially, we really hung on tight to, we want to talk about what they know in terms of math. And so our STEM 8 team spent a lot of time developing curricular competencies for both math and science, and so it looks something like this. We wanted to talk about what students knew. We wanted to talk about what they could do. We wanted to talk about what they could understand, and then we built in some reflection on it. So we wanted to get them thinking about their learning, and so that they would have to give and receive feedback and self-assess. So instead of talking about fractions and integers, we wanted to talk about computational fluency or scientific knowledge. So we moved into this year, and this was a massive leap, believe me, for math teachers to be able to talk about what kind of learner they were versus how good they were at adding or subtracting, that kind of idea. This year we also made the transition from numbers to mastery levels. So this is an example of a math exam that happened in my class. We had 4 mastery levels that we reported on. So if we felt that the student could do everything we asked them to do, we would assess them an M for mastery. And you can see on the bottom of the page, this particular student, you can see all the red check marks. This kid knew what they were doing, so they got a mastery level. We could assess them as capable, meaning, yeah, you pretty much know everything. There's a little bit of room for improvement, but you're pretty good. Developing is, there's some stuff, but you're still struggling. Requiring assistance, meaning, honey, no. we have a lot of work to do. So we don't put numbers, we don't put grades on tests anymore. We just indicate what mastery level we felt the student demonstrated. We changed our tool for reporting. So some secondary teachers use Jupiter grades. And so this is an online marks reporting website. And we changed our tool to eliminate the use of numbers. So this is an example of what a parent and a student see when they log into Jupiter grades. So we don't put any numbers on this. We instead communicate achievement of our curricular competencies. So assignments look like you would expect them to look. They do some stuff in science, they do some stuff in math. You can still see integer tests, you can still see metric stuff, but we don't put a number under the score. We put the mastery level that the student demonstrated. And then under the category, you can see where we've divided what they're doing into what curricular competency we felt that it belonged in. And as STEM teachers, we've had a lot of rich discussions over what category does this fit in. And it's forced us out of our comfort zone in asking different types of questions. Instead of, can you just do the math? Well, can you reflect on that? Can you synthesize? Things like that. So it's been excellent professional development for us to talk about things like this. It is definitely an ongoing process of educating both students and parents to shift their focus away from the grade and towards the learning. Last year was really difficult in this aspect. Parents wanted to know, what's the percent? What's the letter grade? What is it? Oops, sorry. And we wanted to keep that focus on the learning. So we've continued to educate both students, and students, of course, the grade 8 kids are really good at, they're already using them as verbed. I mastered that, or I got a mastery, I'm gonna master that. So they're pretty good at that. There's still a few parents that are hung up on it, but it's actually gone pretty well this year in terms of them kind of understanding what their students can do. We use Google Classroom in Dover Bay grade 8, so we're using Google Classroom to communicate with students and parents what we are learning, and also to help them to be accountable for their work. So a previous question was, how do I help my child to know what their homework is? We post that stuff on Google Classroom, and so parents and students can access that at home. They can access it on their phones in class. They can access it anywhere that they have access to technology. Using Google Classroom, students are able to submit their work electronically. So the dog didn't eat it, it didn't get lost. You have to submit it electronically. It date and time stamps it so we can know exactly when it came in. On Google Classroom, they're able to reflect on their learning, and they can receive feedback on their assignments. So this is an example. The kids just had a matter test, chemistry, atoms, and so I asked them, hey, here's all the things that we did in this unit. What did you like the best? What did you like the worst? What worked for you as a learner? Tell me why you think what you picked was the best. Tell me why you think what you picked was the worst. Why did you pick that? And then tell me why it was important that you learned what you learned. How do you think this could maybe apply to real life? This ongoing communication thing is very new to secondary, so we're used to our report cards. And as a parent, however, I love it, so I love this idea. We're building capacity by continually communicating with parents regarding student achievement. So at secondary, we're like, well, Jupiter grades counts, right? And we're learning, no, it doesn't necessarily meet all the criteria for reporting. So this year, I'm asking students to reflect on their learning. Students then take the reflection home to be signed by a parent. So this was an example of when they, what does it say, integers? They wrote their integer test. There were 4 learning outcomes. They needed to write out the learning outcomes. They needed to indicate what their mastery levels was on. They needed to talk about what was good, what did they do well, what did they need to work on, and I asked a parent to sign it so that I would know that it was received at home and hopefully talked about. So I would send parents an email, hey, look out for the yellow sheet, it's coming home, and it would be fantastic if you could talk to your student about how the integer test went. So next steps, one of the most difficult thing we're gonna have to do in June is we have to look at Jupiter grades. We're gonna have to look at all those mastery levels and somehow convert that into a letter grade. I really wish we didn't, but I think we have to. And so that'll be another discussion that we have at our STEM 8 team. How are we going to develop criteria that how we're going to assess our students in June? You get to know them. Like it's funny because it doesn't take long to sort of categorize them in your head, but I love the idea of gathering evidence to sort of support that idea. So in June, we're going to have to come up with a letter grade, even though we haven't used numbers all year. This is a real bone of contention at Dover Bay. We've been using these mastery levels for a while, and now the district said, no, we're going to use these words. And we're like, we've been using words, but anyway. So we're going to have to change, actually coming up fairly quickly with our snapshot January report card. I call it the slidey slide. We're going to have to change our words. So our mastery will change to extending. Our capable will change to applying. We both share developing, and then instead of saying requiring assistance, we're going to say beginning, and that aligns with what the district does. And we will continue to utilize Google Classroom for ongoing communication with parents. So that idea of portfolios, love it. We would love to take that even further. And we have a bit of a problem at Dover Bay, this grade 8 team. We want to take on every single thing that's available, and then all of a sudden our list is this big, and we're like, whoa. So baby steps, we've changed a lot, but that idea of e-portfolio to me is very exciting. So that's all I had to say about assessment and report.
Wow.
Trustee Brzovic?
Thank you. Thank you very much for this presentation. I think math to me is the one area where this kind of stuff, I love the moving away from letter grade, but math is the one area where it's probably the most intimidating to me.
Yeah.
Math to me is such a concrete.
Yeah, you got 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's sort of, you can either do it or you can't.
Yeah.
You know, if you can't add, then you can't, and each part of math is required for the next part. If you can't add, if you don't understand adding, you won't understand multiplying. So given that, like, how are you guys, have you guys started having conversations about how does this work in terms of, okay, you know enough of Math 8 to go on to Math 9? And that's what probably is still confusing me about all this.
The truthful answer is every grade 8 student will move on to grade 9.
Okay.
So, but they'll be moving on with a lot of support in place. So we will identify the students that need extra support. We are currently giving students in our school a lot of extra support in different ways. Our admin team has been extremely creative with ways that teachers can support students outside of a regular math class as well. So they will go to Math 9.
Okay.
They don't fail.
We don't do repeat.
They do fail. I can put an F on a report card. They still will go to Math 9, but flagged as a student that needs a lot of support, and those will be put in place to try to support that particular student to be successful in Math 9.
Trustee Rae?
Thank you for your passion. Again, same as we always say tonight, it seems. We're so lucky here. My question is, as a parent of a high school student, what is the bigger challenge, educating the students to change to this or the parents to change? I think I know the answer to that as a parent of a high school student. How is it that are you still getting a lot of pushback from the parents that are the traditional?
Yeah. Not this year so much. Last year was a difficult year, and I know our admin took the brunt of the conversations from parents. Parents want to be able to understand what's going on. They want to be able to understand what their kids know and don't know, and how to support them. So we haven't got as much. I've had a few, and so I'm honest. I pick a number. This is, if you want to know, here's what your kid's at, this percentage, which isn't authentic, which doesn't mean anything to me. So here, you can have it if that makes you happy. I think it's more important how the student feels about their learning and how they're doing. But no, not a lot. I continually, through Jupiter Grades, email the parents, and remember that an M or developing a D isn't the letter D. It's not a D. So I've had to sort of go through that conversation a few times. But it's pretty good, actually. We're in year 3 of this idea, so it's getting better each year. I can really get parents on board when I say, okay, if we use the traditional way of assessing and your child blows the first test, okay, well now the A's gone. They can't get an A anymore because they lost all those marks. Or I can assess them on a continuum with lots of chances of reassessment and continuing to work on what they need to work on. And that A's still there. So just because they blew it, and that's the way it used to be, you blew the first test, there went your A. You blew another test, okay, there went your B. We're more concerned about learning, and so however long that takes and however many supports need to happen, that's more important than you didn't get it the first time or the second time, and yeah, you blew it and you didn't show up or you didn't hand it in, but in the end, we want you to learn.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Trustee Rae?
Well, my question is actually kind of around that whole, like, it's great that you don't blow the A or blow the B, but like you said that you get a grade at the end of the year, but do you get something in the middle where the kids know what they need to work on? Just the whole, like, my letter grade, is it a B or an A? Like, for those kids that are, kind of in between letter grades, but they want something more precise, or the parents do.
My answer isn't going to make you happy, I don't think. No. We're not giving letter grades mid-year, so we are going to be using the reporting tool that's coming out in January. It is a sliding scale between extending and beginning, and so we will look at the evidence that we have gathered and decide along that continuum of learning where we think they are. We're going to talk about their strengths, we're going to talk about their weaknesses, and then we'll talk about next steps to support them in their learning. But no, a letter grade will not come until June. Yeah.
Trustee Rae has another question.
I guess to clarify Trustee Rotley's point, wouldn't the fact that you have Jupiter Grades and you're in constant communication with the parents and the students help, not having a middle B or a C or a D, they're in constant communications with the parents, right? So
hopefully. Yes.
Hopefully. Yeah, that's the goal.
It's there.
Yeah.
Have a
so
look.
that would be a way to alleviate that concern.
Yeah. And that's not my decision, by the way.
Right.
That's just my job.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Shirley?
Thank you. Through the chair, I have a question regarding some of the forms that you use for the ongoing communication. I'm curious as to why, or maybe asking if we could, instead of just requiring a parent signature, could there not be a comment box or a question box that's put on there? So not only are you, I feel that it's important for you to know more than, oh, I signed that. There should be more there, a better option. If you want that paper back, to hear from your parent that they signed it, maybe there should be a space there also for them to have that opportunity to communicate back with you using that same form. So that would just be a question, is that a possibility?
Absolutely, it's just a form I made, so yeah.
May I follow up, Chair?
Yeah.
Do you have a question? Some of the learning outcomes that we look at around communicating learning and a student's ability to communicate their learning. A lot of students, especially I would say probably the grade 8, grade 9, deal with significant anxiety because they're going through many different life changes. So what other opportunities are they provided with to present their learning that wouldn't require necessarily an oral presentation with you?
In a STEM class, there's not a lot of oral presentation. So math-wise, we would do projects or tests. It's still quite traditional. It's very difficult to sort of rework that. In science, they have more opportunities to speak orally. I give them choice all the time. So some kids are very comfortable talking. The Snapchat generation is quite happy to talk and video themselves doing that. But I wouldn't ever say that's your only option to report.
Could you give me an example of something that a parent, if their student comes home and says, I have to do this, what could a parent say, well, why don't you ask if you could do this instead?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Could you give me an example of something?
So we talked about the metric system, and we use this acronym, King Henry died drinking chocolate milk, as sort of to represent all of the levels for kilogram, that kind of thing. The kids videoed themselves. I got a lot of videos on King Henry dying instead of talking about conversions. I learned as well how I need to frame their assignments, but that's quite out of the box of what we would normally do. Normally we give them a piece of paper and say convert these things instead of, hey, show us on a video how to do this. The point of the video was that it was low stakes. They didn't have to stand up and talk in front of the class. Is that sort of what you're referencing? I'm not a massive fan of standing up in front of the class. Sorry, humanities people, but I'm not. So personally, it's a great skill that I would offer they could do, but I would never require a student to talk in front of the class. That's a hard skill at that age level.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any other questions? No? Awesome. Thank you,
Thank you
so much.
Akon Portaway next. Thank you to everybody.
Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Sean Walsh. I teach grade 7 late French immersion at Corduroy. I have 2 daughters at home. One's 5 months and one's 2 years old. And this is probably the first year that I'm actually excited to put them into the district, because it's just changed so much, and everyone's opening up their doors and actually know what's happening in classrooms. Whereas before I knew there was good things, but I wasn't seeing them. And I knew there was bad things, but I also wasn't seeing them. I was only hearing about them. So it's very exciting for me to be part of the district and for me to be able to put my kids into it. Having said that, I'm going to give you the haiku version of my presentation. I told my wife I'd be home at 7:30. No, it's okay. It's really okay. But so I want to talk to you about just how I want to continue about how excited I am. So when I work with kids, I'm super excited. I'm engaged. I wrestle with kids. I play indoor soccer with them. We push each other around, and all this new language, beginning, developing, applying, extending, is being bred into that playful nature that I have with children. So probably more than I'd like to admit, during the week, my secretary chimes in and says, "Mr. Walsh, your attendance, please." I just get so excited I forget to do my attendance, and all my kids are like, "Beginning, Mr. Walsh, beginning." Right, so we're kind of joking about it. And it's, you know, if they were to say fail, I think it's more fun to say beginning, I think, and they're more comfortable with the terminology as well. And with French immersion, you get a lot of really strong kids, especially with late French immersion. You know, you go to grade 5s, do you want to leave your school and start learning a new language and try to catch up by grade 8? It's not an easy task, so we get a lot of strong students. But we also get a few kids that come through that are struggling. So I had one student, it said in the file from the year before that his reading was very low. So the next thing I heard is, oh, this student is on a trip, so they're not going to start till the first week of October. So I sort of planned ahead. I was like, hey, as soon as he gets here, I'm going to see where his reading level's at, because if we're going to do project-based learning, inquiry, if we're going to have fun, and I'm going to give them time to be independent and learn on their own and as peers, he needs to be able to read. So I started developing a plan. As soon as he got there, we were reading a book called The Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian. It's a great book to get kids, especially grade 7 boys, into reading. And he was behind on the book, so I took him up to the front and I said, here's the first page. I'm just going to record you, see where you're at, and go ahead and read. So he kind of looked at me like, I just got here, man. I've been on vacation for a month. So I recorded him, and he was really struggling. So I said, you know, how do you think you are at reading if I were to tell you, you know, beginning, developing, applying, or extending? And he said, you know, I'm beginning. So it's kind of alarming for me. How does a kid get through K1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then to me in grade 7, and still he could sound out the words? And I said, well, did you understand what you just read? He's like, I have no idea. So next day I asked mom to come in. Mom comes in. We have the meeting. and talk about his reading level. And it wasn't, I'm not angry. I'm just saying this needs to be addressed if I'm going to move forward with your student. And the late immersion is challenging. No big deal, but let's work on it. So here's the novel. You guys are going to read together every day, and I'm going to check on his reading every morning and see how he's doing with his reading. I don't care if he reads 2 sentences every night. So that's what he did. And I have that video still from the beginning of the year, and I work with Google Apps for Education. So it's actually, I can't remember, a portfolio. You know what a portfolio is, like the paper version? It looks the same in Google Apps for Education. So I have physical ones and I have the online ones. And in that folder, it's the student's name. And then I share that with my principal, the student, and the parent. Now all 4 of us have access to that file from any computer in the world, iPad, phone, whatever. We can all check in on his progress whenever we decide. Even if he's halfway through a project, it's in there and we can check on it. So the video of him reading at the beginning of the year is in that, as well as my assessment of his reading that includes the voice of his parents, the parent that was at that meeting. And then on the back of this page is the student's reflection of themselves and their ability to read. Please, yeah, pass it out. Just don't read it, because I need you to listen for a little bit longer. So on Monday, so every day I've been working with this kid a little bit. Mom's been working with him, reading it to him, making sure he's understanding it, asking him questions. On Monday I came and I said, how are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm on the last page, and he's really excited. And I said, can you read it for me? I'm going to videotape it. So he reads it for me, I videotape it. He was still reading slowly, and at the end I said, so what did you read? What did you understand? He talked for 10 minutes about the book and all the things he liked about it. And I said, how are you feeling about this? He's like, I'm excited, Mr. Walsh. No one's ever taken the time. Thank you so much. I love it. What can I read next? So I gave him a few suggestions. He runs to the library, and our great librarian gives him a graphic novel this time, and he's starting to tackle that as well. And then we did a reflection with him, and then I did my assessment of where he thought he was. And it's funny because my assessment is that he's developing, but his assessment is that he's between developing and applying, which is great. He's showing confidence, and I think that's what it takes if you're going to be a good learner, is you have to be confident about it. So I'd rather him be overconfident than under, and it's powerful stuff, and the new language is amazing. So that's it. If you want to read through this, you can go ahead and see the language. The 2 videos are amazing. So that's it.
Questions for Mr. Walsh?
He's got to put some kids to bed.
I can save for questions. I was just a little bit joking, but a little bit serious.
First off, thank you for your honesty in saying that you wouldn't have your kids in this school district. And I'm sincere when I say that. Thank you for saying that. I sincerely appreciate you coming here in front of this group and saying that. I respect you for that. And I'm very impressed with you and your passion. And do you have more than one? I'm sure you do, but is this the majority of your kids that are buying into this, your style, or?
My kids are super excited. They're using the language every day. I was showing them how to serve, and I botched it. Once again, beginning, and then, the next one I'm like, okay, this one's extending, and I do a jump serve, and then, we're laughing about it. So the day I found out was a Wednesday morning at a last minute meeting. The next thing I did was I went into my class and I was excited. I said, we get to decide as a class. So personalized learning is something that I use all the time, and now the district's saying, teachers, we're giving you a little bit of parameters here, but you decide how you want to share with parents and how you want to do student voice. I get to be creative. And to me, not just be creative, but create things, create my own assessment tools. Instead of having someone tell me how to do it, I'm the expert of grade 7 French immersion, so I'm going to decide how to do it, and that's exciting for me, and it makes me want to get up out of bed and go and help kids every day.
Well, thank you for your passion. Thank you.
Very much. Anybody else? Oh, Trustee Robinson, sorry, I didn't have you on this.
Just thank you for your enthusiasm about where we're going. Through most of this year, I swear every board meeting I come in and I say, I'm sensing a difference with teachers, with EAs, and with other staff members. I'm sensing a difference. Once I said it about one particular person, and everyone laughed at me. And the next day, I'll blow out the chair. He came in and he said, we laughed at you yesterday, but I just talked to a couple of people today. You're right. Things are changing, and it's so exciting tonight to hear what we're hearing from every teacher, but to have you say, I wouldn't have put my kids into this school or this system, and now I'm excited about doing it.
It's powerful.
Thank you.
I just want to know if you want to come teach at Fairview.
I live just down the road. So.
Thank you very much for your awesome presentation, your passion. You can go put those kids to bed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thanks everyone. You know, it didn't take much for me to get, well, except for maybe Michelle Croft, it took a little more encouragement than the rest, but it really didn't take much. These principals, vice principals, and teachers, you know, openly accepted my invite to come in, so I want to thank all of you for that, and I appreciate you filling all the questions, and thank you all for putting yourselves out there. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We need a little bit of a break, I think, and then, are you done this part, and moving on to the next part? To the DCLO stuff?
Couple more hours?
Sure, why not?